I'm Tariq Qureishy. I guess you guys know me a little bit. This is the culmination, the climax of this current series of roundtables. It was around cloud. We've spoken about cybersecurity, data modernization, data migration, and digital native. All of that stuff has already been covered. Speakers from all over the world and regionally have come together. We've had several Microsoft partners. We'll put together a series and a use case for these roundtables. What has been interesting is that literally hundreds of people have joined us over the last 2 months in this particular process. And the tilt is towards the small, medium businesses, the SMB sector. And there's a special reason for that. Over 80% of the companies in the UAE, for example, 83% to be precise, are small, medium enterprises. A small, medium enterprise is literally from one person, solopreneur, to $300 to $400 million with a minimum of 1,000 people. Now that takes us into the space where companies get listed at that level, and they have the ability to either scale and literally just go exponential, or at an inflection point they can fade out. And I think it's a really important point in most companies' lives when they are at that particular stage. And I'll talk about how the most vulnerable companies are companies that were born in the 20th century and are trying to make that transformation today. And digital transformation, our session today, is about connecting the dots, all of the dots that we've spoken about technologically, but some of the other pieces too. Digital transformation is our core, and the whole world is going through that whole space. But society is being transformed because of digital transformation, and we are being transformed because society is transforming. So actually, it's all interlinked. And what I'm talking about today as a context is we cannot talk about technology in the absence of humanity. You may notice this thing, post-COVID, post-war, what's the new world? And I think at the moment, collaboration and innovation is where we are. But at the same kind of roundtable this time next year would be about radical innovation and reinvention and being disruptive and being sort of adaptive. And I call it adaptive radiation, and it's really to adapt and change and adapt and grow and keep going. One of my favorite slides, the exponential digital shift that has happened during COVID has been incredible. What used to take decades is now happening in months and sometimes in weeks, and it's across industry, and all of these industries are being affected, and we as humans are at the center of it. So the world is changing at that speed. Technology and companies need to start changing at that speed, and we need to start absorbing as human beings that speed. I've been attending a few crypto conferences and NFT and blockchain conferences over the last week or so. It's a completely new language. It's a different vibe. I am literally learning, drinking from a fire hose. And one of the things that the penny dropped with me yesterday when I was at an event where a company called Fire, they had invited me as a special guest. And I realized how much I have to unlearn. So I can contribute things, but my unlearning capability is something that I need to really test. And I think any kind of transformation needs to start with some type of unlearning. And part of that unlearning is our friendly dinosaurs. The meteor was coming. This is inspired by Don't Look Up. And the dilemma there is adapt or die. And what is happening is that 20th century companies are coming down and 21st century companies are going up. And a study at Babson College and now further studies from there said 75% of the companies from the 20th century in the S&P 500 and Fortune 1000 will no longer exist by the end of this decade. And 50% of the companies replacing those 75% of the companies have not been born today. And that is why those are all SMBs. And that is why this particular session is so critically important. One of the critical things in any kind of digital transformation that I talk about is immune systems. And these immune systems, as human beings, we have immune systems, as companies, we have immune systems. And this is what blocks transformation. Due to the exponential transformation that's going on in the world with all of the technologies and so on, a lot of the people don't actually even know what's down the pipe in 12 months' time. So you ask them, depending on the questions you ask them, they won't even know the answer. And going back 10 years, Steve Jobs was doing his various focus groups on the iPhone. And everything the customer asked for, he went exactly against it. The customer said, oh, we just want something small. We want a keyboard. We want a small screen. We want longer batteries, and. And he went against all of the customer recommendations and said, no, bigger screen, this kind of battery, no keyboard, and he still delivered. He said, because the customer doesn't even know what the customer actually, because of what I'm talking about is exponential technological change and the convergence of different technologies coming in and creating new products and services that the customer doesn't even know.